Hey everybody, it's Rachel with Rachel Q Stitches and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, thank you for stopping by. This is a channel mainly about cross stitch, but today I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'll be talking about quilting. If you're returning, you're going to get something a little different, something new. So either way, I hope you stick around. If you like what you see and you're not subscribed, think about doing that. And let's get into our topic. So about a week ago, I was watching a video by Log Cabin Stitcher, and she was talking about her quilting style and how she liked scrappy things. And she mentioned when she was a beginning quilter that she went to a quilt store and she didn't have a whole lot of money, and the lady there sold her some pre-cut strips from, I believe, a project. Maybe they had done a class or something. And I commented that there was a store when we lived in Tennessee. It was in Franklin, Tennessee. It was called the Quilting Squares, and they would sell sandwich-sized backies of scraps. And I would always go in there and buy them. They were like $3.99, $2.99, $2.50, and I'd go in there and I'd buy them because I love scrappy quilts. They also, y'all, I'm out of breath. Whew. They also specialized in Civil War fabrics. If you know anything about the Nashville, Franklin, Tennessee area, there was a Battle of Franklin. Lots of Civil War history there. I loved it. I loved the history there. It was really, really neat. So they did a lot of Civil War fabrics. And so I would go and buy these baggies. And they always had pieces in them that were left over from quilt classes that they did, demonstrations, classes. I would buy baggies that were filled with things like this, like this behind me. I have a stack of these little triangles, square and a square. They sold these square and a square ruler, so they had tons of these in various sizes and shapes. Pieces like this. The beginnings of a 9-patch. These little guys are, again, I believe, from the square and a square ruler demonstration, or maybe even the pineapple rulers. You never know with these things. So there were these. I even picked up a bag that had this shoved inside. Sometimes they would sell gallon-sized bags for $10, $15, depending on what was in it. These. I have some of these. And they would sell bags of just pieces like this, or strips. You can see this bag right here is just full of strips of fabric. And I would just grab them. And there was another lady that worked there. Every time I go, the lady that worked there would say, "Oh, you're buying more." I'm like, "Yeah." She says, "We have one other lady that buys them, and she makes bags that she sells on Etsy." Now this right here is a piece from, and I set it aside and I don't see it, a tube that they had sewed. 4 jelly roll strips, 2.5-inch strips. They sewed a tube and they cut it a certain way, and this is actually 2 separate pieces that I sewed together. So there were little triangles like this that I sewed together. So you can see, look, here's one of the tubes, these tubes. And I picked them apart and I just sewed them together. So what I did was, there was one bag that I got, and when I opened up what was in it, because they taped them, so you really couldn't open them to say, "Oh, what's in this?" But when I bought it, I saw something out the corner of my eye and I thought, I need that bag. And I think it was one of the 10, maybe even $15 bags. It was a gallon-sized bag. It had this piece shoved in it with a bunch of other pieces, a lot of strips, just different things like that. So I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to hang it up behind me, and I'm going to show you what was in it. There it is. This centerpiece was in a bag. And I knew I had to have that bag. So I grabbed the bag, I brought it home, I stuck it on my design wall, and I thought, what can I do with it? So I began putting pieces like this, just figuring out on my design wall what would fit. And I took some of the strips and I would make it bigger right here. And then I took those pieces that I showed you that I had sewed together. And I made these blocks and I put them here and I put them here. And I knew that I had to add strips to make it taller so that it would match up to here. And then I did the same thing here. I sewed these together right here. Let me scoosh you down a little bit. Right here and right here. And I put those on. And again, there were times when I had to add strips. So this is what I'm doing with all these. It is my Tennessee quilt. We moved back down to Louisiana 3 years ago. And when Bonnie at Log Cabin Stitcher mentioned it, I thought I need to pull that out, because when we moved, when we knew we were moving, I went by to the shop a couple of times, you know, during that time, and I picked up some more bags. And then the last time I went, I picked up a couple more, and I told the lady, I said, we're moving back to Louisiana. I told her my mom is sick. We don't know how much longer she has, and she actually only lived about 18 days after we closed on our house down here. But my mom was sick, and I said, we're moving down there so I can take care of her. And then, you know, our parents are getting older, our kids are grown. So I said, we're moving. And I said, I'm going to miss my little store. It was a small store. I loved it. And I said, but thank you. I said, I plan on making a Tennessee quilt in honor of your shop with all my little baggies. And so I knew I had to finish it. So I pulled it out. I pulled out, this tub is full of what I didn't lay on my table. And if you could see my table, it's full of pieces from these little bags that I've sewn together. And so I've enjoyed it. It's kind of an improv quilt, if you will. Me putting these pieces together and saying, what can I do with them to make them look good together? And like I said, most of them are Civil War. There's a couple of little bits in here that you can see that aren't really Civil War, but they go enough that I'm okay with them. They're like Americana-ish, red, white, and blue. So I figure they go well enough with them, but I'm just going to continue. And like this, it right here, I'll sew this together. I'll probably have to add a small little strip, which is what this little bag is for. Is for making things wider, taller, however they need to be. And so I'll basically work center these two sides, top and bottom, and then I'm going to work these two sides, and then I'll go top and bottom until I run out. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. Like I said, I have a stack of these right here, little string blocks that I can use. I have tons of strips, and so it's just going to be fun. It's going to be fun to put it together and see what happens. But this is my quilt style. It's scrappy. I love reproduction fabrics. You can see the string block right here. These are 30s reproductions, and I made these with big old bag of strings that my cousin gave to me. If you know my story, you know that my mom died, like I said, 18 days after we moved down here. Well, the week before that, her oldest sister passed away. My aunt owned a quilt shop here, and my aunt is who got my mom into quilting, and then my mom got me into quilting. And my aunt would travel to market in Houston every year, and we would go with her. My mom worked it for a couple of years, and then my mom and I would go to shop, and then my mom and I started a small quilt business just doing shows, and we would go to festival and market and everything, and it was a lot of fun. And so when my aunt passed away, my mom passed away the week later, I was at my aunt's shop with my cousin, and she's like, do you want this bag? And she gave me a, 24-inch size bag shoved full of these Aunt Grace strips. They cut their own 2.5-inch strips to sell, their own jelly rolls, if you will. And these were all the little bits that were left over, and my aunt, being my aunt, didn't throw anything away. She kept a lot of scraps, and so she gave me, my cousin gave me these, and I started making string quilts out of them. I took them out the bag, I trimmed them, I ironed them, I starched them, and I started making these. And so I have, so this is 4 string blocks. I have some that have the red center, the red strip in the center, and then I think I started purple. So I have a few. I just need to finish them, and I do back my string blocks on muslin. I don't like using paper. Tearing paper out just does not sound like fun to me, so I use muslin. And I will use batting. I use a thin batting, so even though we're in Louisiana, we keep our house cold, so quilts are always welcome. So, and this is another one. Oh, this is another thing I want to tell you. These are made right here, all from fabric. This one right here, all from fabrics that I purchased at the Goodwills in Tennessee. In my area, I had 6 Goodwills that I could go to, and that was not including the outlet in Nashville. 6 Goodwills, all within about 40 minutes from my house. I would hit them up and I would buy fabric. And this is, depending on how big this is, it'll either be a wall quilt or a bed quilt. Depends on how big it is. But one of my Goodwills actually sold this to me, and I had it folded with the tie. Here it is. It is 3.5 yards for $11.99, and it is Judy Rothermel presents Textiles Inspired by the Old Sturbridge Village Collection. $11.99 for 3.5 yards. So I got a ton of fabric at the Goodwill in that area. The Goodwill's in there. Fantastic deals. I miss it. Our Goodwill here, none of that stuff. There was also a creative reuse store called Smart, S-M-A-R-T, like Smart. Anyway, and they would have huge fabric sales where you would get the little grocery buggy and $10. And I would go and stock up on fabric. So that's, I'm a scrappy quilter. I love scrappy quilts. I don't have the money to go and buy tons of matchy quilt stuff. Usually what I do have, when I do have fat quarter stacks or whatever, it was a gift from my mom. So I love scrappy quilts. So this is what I wanted to show. Bonnie, this is for you, my block. If anybody knows what this block is from, I love it. I would never ever do applique. I shouldn't say never ever. I would never do needle turn applique. I took a class, didn't like it, and so when I saw that, that's why I had to have it. So this video is kind of scattered. My husband's playing golf and he's texting me. Apparently my son's texting him. He's sending me screenshots of the text. Anyway, so I'm a little discombobulated. But this is my quilting. I don't quilt nearly as much as I'd like to. I love quilting. It's my first love, but it does take a lot of time and space. And right now my sewing room is being rearranged by my husband and I. So hopefully soon I'll get it workable, where I feel I can get some stuff done. But I do want to finish this. This is, like I said, memory of Tennessee. We loved it there. We loved living there. We loved raising our kids there. So there it is. Thank you for watching, and I will see you Tuesday for our floss tube. Bye.